and welcome to Diverse and Inclusive Leaders, the podcast show where I interview the most inspirational and thought-provoking leaders of today and unearth their unique stories of diversity and inclusion to help inspire, educate, and motivate others to make the world a better place. Today, I'm joined by a very familiar face and very good friend of mine, the incredible Alexandra Watson, Editor-in-Chief of Shine UK magazine. Now, Alexandra is an absolute superstar in her own right. She's had years and years of experience working within the UK and global coaching field. She's one of the leading UK practitioners and has also had many years' experience working within media, within film, and is going to be a much more familiar face to your screens, and especially on this YouTube channel here, as I'm delighted to announce, ta-ra, special announcement today, that Alex is actually going to be our editor-in-chief for the Dial Global monthly magazine, which showcases the most inspirational, diverse and inclusive leaders. So, Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leila. It's wonderful to be here, and I always love talking with you, so this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
Fantastic stuff. Well, I love chatting with you as well. And today, Alex and I are at the fantastic Women in Law Summit. So there are hundreds and thousands of women here today and have been over the last couple of days. So hopefully we'll have a chance to speak with them a little later on. But in the meanwhile, I'd love to just have a bit of a catch up and a chat with Alex about some of the work that she's been up to recently and hopefully why she's so excited to come on board as our brand new editor-in-chief.
Well, I've been busy. You know, it's been a fantastic time for Shine UK magazine. There's been a lot of beautiful conferences to come to that are women-centric because the magazine's all about women. So we've been really inspired by some of the speakers of several conferences, and we cover as much as we can in terms of what's happening with women, because of course we champion women, and that's one of the things we do look at is obviously diversity and inclusion, but my special sort of area, if you like, is championing the advancement of women. So that's why we're covering these events at the moment. And there's more to come. There's a lot more to come with that. But one of the things we're particularly excited about at the moment, and actually a real hot topic I've found, and I didn't realize it was such a hot topic, is leadership for women. And how, still to this day, it's extremely difficult for women to advance into leadership roles for one reason or another. It could be a cultural thing, or sometimes it's actually women holding themselves back. So I've been looking at this for quite a while now, and so and also, gosh, this was the worst thing, is that I found that there's not only a gender pay gap, but there's also a gender training gap. So we wanted very much to do what we could about that. So we are looking at an initiative called 2020 by 2020, which is to get 2020 wonderful women through leadership training by the end of year 2020. So as you can imagine, we are busy doing those types of things, but I must say I'm so delighted to have been asked to be guest editor-in-chief for your fantastic magazine. I can't wait because the topics that we're going to cover are just going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait to get my hands in the clay and to get really into those subjects and to, I suppose, make more of these issues visible for people, and bring to light the real stories behind those issues, the challenges that people have, but the success stories as well. I think that's really incredibly important, to celebrate success stories as well as highlight those things that are difficult. So there's lots to go through, lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. Well, Meenakshi and I are so delighted and thrilled to have you as our guest editor, and I know that you're going to do a fabulous job just making sure that all of those women and men and the diverse and inclusive leaders' voices are heard. And, you know, I think you mentioned there the 2020 campaign for getting 2020 women and diverse individuals through these leadership and coaching programs,
yes,
which I think will be wonderful. And hopefully for all of our viewers and for all of our listeners, you'll be able to keep tabs on how far we are up to. I know that Alex will be keen to keep everyone abreast of our statistics and what's happening on a month-by-month basis, because we're really going into this full throttle
Yes.
to see how many people we can get on board as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Because the sooner we hit this 2020, the better. The sooner we can party and celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more the merrier, you know. We may not even stop at 2020. We want to see how many people are really ready for that leadership training. And the thing about the training is it's not just a 1 day or a 2 day or 6 months, it's a whole year. So people have got a lot of time to actually take on board the content, let ideas of leadership and the skills of that you need to have in leadership to sort of percolate with a lot of support that we provide as well. So we're just really excited that so far people have been really, really keen to join. Delighted that even sometimes when you can certainly be a quite high level executive, but you still don't have the budget within your corporation to have any leadership training. So this is where people miss out. So this is the gap we're trying to fill.
Absolutely. And for all of our listeners and our viewers who are out there thinking, Alex talks about budget, and you've heard this from me first. This is a really fantastic deal. This is not, in any way, shape or form a sales pitch. But
No.
Alex, tell everyone a little bit more about what you're offering with our combined target of 2020 and why that is such a fabulous deal. And, remember that actually Alex is doing this because she's so genuinely passionate about really being able to showcase and champion women to the places that they belong.
True.
And so I think it's the offer. Talk me through the offer.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. The offer actually is we're subsidizing the training 90% of the cost. We're taking 90% of the cost. Like I said, it's a whole year's worth of training. So you've got plenty of time to get used to that. Online material, plus there's live training and there's live Q&A. So you could be going through a module. There's 8 modules in all and several classes within each module. All of them very poignant and very much focused not on the intellect or academics. This is very much leadership training, which is about EQ, the emotional intelligence, and that really makes a leader. Because the true leadership is what we're talking about. That's the name of this coaching and mentoring package. And it's really about the whole person. I don't think you can sort of dictate to somebody how a leader is, but what we do is take the inspirational side of great leaders, breaking down I would say, some of the best minds that have been out there in thought leadership, and taking their content as well and amalgamating it into these succinct modules. So not only is it sort of progressive, but you've only need 25 minutes a week to do it, so it's not going to take up any huge amount of time, and we hold your hand all the way through it. So it's really so we can come at the end of the day, the end result is that we've got some build up a fantastic community, but also really help people go through the tricky road to leadership and to help them come out the other side feeling very confident, have a lot more clarity about who they are and the role they want to have in any industry. So any age, any industry. So you could be a graduate coming in, you could already be a senior person who's already had a little bit of leadership training. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all in the sense that it's personalized enough, but it's also broad enough to help any industry, any level within that industry.
Excellent. So what you're describing there sounds very holistic,
yes,
if that's the right word.
Yes.
It's encompassing the whole and true self
yes,
of the individual who is coming onto the leadership program.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that you mention EQ, and
yes,
arguably, yes, we are in a time of life and business where digital transformation is absolutely huge. Social media, there's a lot of efficiencies happening through digital. And so there is a huge amount of change, I guess, to the skill set and the job market and the individuals who are in that. However, arguably, EQ, IQ, and the personality pieces are things that cannot be replaced by AI. They're things that cannot be replaced at all by this incredible rise in digital transformation. And so actually, these are the kinds of traits and characteristics that are ultimately going to be the most invaluable, almost the most invaluable commodities of the future.
You're absolutely right. And funnily enough, it was just the other day I was having a very similar conversation with somebody who was very much into the tech world. And she was saying that, yes, there is this sort of rise in AI taking over certain roles. And she said, but not necessarily for women. Because the way that women are in terms of our nuances, our personalities, our nurturing abilities, our very much people-orientated sensitivities cannot be replicated at all by anything artificial. So it's artificial age in some respects, but not actually in the longer term. Those cannot be replaced. So for women, that's great news. I don't know about the men.
Goodness, we won't be taken away by robots.
No, not yet.
But I think the blend between the two is really wonderful. So
you need to have a blend. You can't your intellect will get you so far. Your intellect will get you so far, but you can only retain so much information within your intellect. The differences between IQ and EQ is that when you learn something through emotional intelligence, that's a forever shift. You're not going to unlearn that. Whereas you can forget. I mean, can you remember your exams when you were 18 or the college exams when you were 21? No. But you'll remember an incident, an emotional incident, very much more powerfully back in those days and any time ago. It doesn't matter. So what we do is we teach you on an intellectual way, but also highly emotional way in terms of pinpointing your EQ, giving you those tools that make those shifts within you to be more confident because I think one of the big things at the moment is imposter syndrome.
Oh goodness.
Everyone's
I think everyone feels that. I do.
Indeed.
Massively.
It was even Michelle Obama, recently mentioned it. Yes, but she mentioned she still suffers from, we all do, we all suffer to a certain extent of imposter syndrome. It's that type of thing that we are nailing. So you're not going to put yourself forward for any leadership role if you have an ounce of imposter syndrome or a lack of confidence. So that's how we hold ourselves back, is not feeling ready enough, not feeling good enough. We don't know our value well enough. And a typical thing that women do is if they want to apply for a role, they look at the list of what they need, the requirements, and they go, well, no, I can't do that 100%, I can't do that 100%, and then they don't apply. So we want to turn that on its head and make whoever comes onto this training very aware of their value, very aware of their potential, and to always come from that place. Rather than coming from, am I ready? It's coming from, okay, I'm ready for this. How far can I take this? So it's big thinking, it's strategic thinking, it's we also have a lot of role models involved, so you can learn from their stories. We're constantly making those people visible because I think visibility for leadership is incredibly important.
Oh, it's absolutely critical, absolutely critical. And it's amazing the amount of leaders that I speak to, especially if they're from diverse communities, have said, it's been very hard growing up or going up those career rungs, not actually seeing people that look or sound anything like me.
Right, exactly.
And, that's something that, and I've said this to you before, I personally, did spend many years struggling with this because actually there aren't many people who look or sound a huge amount like me. And so actually really trying to find people who are in business that I can connect with and that have stories that resonate with me personally, and I'm sure for many other leaders out there, is really, really important, because if you're not seeing these people out there who are role models that have got some kind of idiosyncratic kind of similarities to yourself, it's very difficult to actually imagine yourself in that position of leadership or that position of power. And so I do think you and I, and indeed all of our listeners and all of the people who are listening or tuning in to today's show, really owe it to the future generations to be able to actually pave the way and be positive role models for others who are not yet at that stage of their careers yet.
Yeah, one of the things that we're talking about in this series of events we've had here at Olympia is that why should we be calling it Women in something? So women in law, women in construction, women in finance. And why can't we just call it a finance summit or a summit for construction? And that's because we're not there yet. Hopefully in 5 or maybe 10 years' time, we can just have general events that obviously incorporate women, but right now that we're not at that place yet, because like you say, there's not very little visibility of female leaders, and that's what we try and do at Shine UK magazine, is shine a light on those role models who are already there. But we still need more of it.
Absolutely. And getting into some of the nuts and bolts of things,
yes.
Talk to me about some of the stats and the metrics, because
it's insane. They're sad. It's really bad reading. I mean, there's a recent report that came out at the beginning of this year about women in leadership. And they'd interviewed thousands of women, and one of the things that I'll tell you what the women felt like, but on the stats side of things, they were saying that 29% of directors in the FTSE are women, so that's very low, 29%.
And that's not even necessarily C-suite leaders,
not
is
necessarily,
it?
they're just directors. So
there's 7
exactly.
female CEOs in the FTSE 350, which is just
insane.
Unbelievable.
Insane. And the other side of it is that only 17% of small firms are run and owned by women. So we're not even putting ourselves out there in the corporate world, but we're not even sometimes putting ourselves out there by creating our own firms. And I think that there's so much potential for women either in the corporate world or to start their own businesses or entities in some way. And we're not doing it because we're either feeling we're not good enough, we're not ready. And 75% of the women who were interviewed said that it was a lack of confidence that held them back. That was the first and major psychological factor that held them back. So 75%, that's huge.
Hence why we really need to work on the EQ, the IQ,
Absolutely.
the confidence piece, and this whole bringing yourself to work and being able to tackle these challenges with real confidence. And
it's not easy for people. I mean, we can sit here and talk about confidence, and they all know, anybody who's listening knows that yes, I could do with a little bit more confidence, but it's the how. Mm-hmm. It's always how. Confidence is one of the few things that us women can fake. Won't go into the others necessarily, but confidence is one of them. But how do you do it authentically? How can you be more confident? And so confidence has to be broken down. It has to be looked at with an expert eye, if you will. And people sort of shown how confidence works, what it is about your self-worth, about your self-esteem, there's sort of a gap, there's a missing link there that makes you feel less. Because we do judge ourselves against other people enormously as women, and always in a negative way. So there's these things that need to be looked at and addressed. And I think that if you're going to invest in yourself and you're going to invest time and energy and sometimes money in yourself, it's got to be working on your EQ. It's got to be working on your confidence. Because when you have more confidence, if you just imagine it for a second, if you'll just take a moment and think, well, what would I be like? Who would I be? What would I do and have differently if I was just even 10% more confident than I am now? You know, your whole world can change in a moment just with that extra little drop of confidence. So if you're going to be working or investing in yourself, do it on your EQ. It doesn't have to be what we offer, but just work on your EQ, because when you work on your self-esteem, your self-worth, everything that you want comes to you. Otherwise, you're just holding yourself back.
Absolutely. It's so much a mindset, isn't it?
Totally.
Absolutely.
Everything starts in the mind. You know, you've already decided whether you're going to fail or succeed at something.
It's the most powerful organ in the body,
It's
isn't
incredible. And if you can master it, if you can master your mindset, which is a huge skill and highly underrated, then the world's your oyster, truly.
What a lovely point to finish this session on. And I think we're going to have a chat as well later to a couple of other executives that we can go and find wandering about the exhibition.
There's plenty of amazing women,
today.
So we're going to grab a few.
Fantastic. So what I will say is, for those who are listening in, we really hope, Alex and I really hope that we've inspired you today to take, perhaps some of the first steps or even to reach out even further to invest in your EQ and your IQ. Please do get in touch with us. You can visit us at www.dialglobal.org, or you can find us on Apple or on YouTube under Dial Global or Diverse and Inclusive Leaders. We would love to hear from you. We would love to meet you and speak with you and welcome you onto our 2020 initiative, getting 2020 leaders on board by 2020. So don't forget to get in touch, and we will look forward to hearing from you soon. My name is Leila Mackenzie, and I've been speaking today with Alexandra Watson, our new editor-in-chief for the Dial Global monthly magazine. We look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching the Diverse and Inclusive Leaders podcast. Please do feel free to hit the like button below, or if you'd like to receive future notifications, do ping the notification bell here at the side. If you're interested in the audio version only, you can find it on the following streaming platforms. Any extra info and descriptions will be in the links below. Look forward to seeing you soon.